So I just watched The Woman in the Yard, and I've got some thoughts. First and foremost, what the heck was that ending about? Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. So today I wanted to make a little video on The Woman in the Yard. This is going to be a full spoiler video. I'm just going to let you know right now. I'm going to get into it. I'm mainly just going to focus on my thoughts on the ending in kind of the last, final kind of sequences of the film. This isn't going to maybe be like a traditional review. I'm not going to go through like the whole film and talk about all the different aspects that worked or didn't work. Being that this movie's already been out now for a little bit. There's been a whole bunch of discussion on it now. I'm not going to kind of rehash all that sort of stuff. I just figured I'd chime in and give a few of my thoughts on the ending. This is a movie that the ending is pretty wild and crazy. Now, up until the final 15 minutes or so, I was having a decent enough time with it. Once the family goes up into the attic and the woman in the yard kind of starts unleashing all of her supernatural, craziness. That's when the film kind of starts going a little bit off the rails because it tries to get all sort of weird and psychological and like you don't know what's real and what isn't real, but it just comes across as kind of sloppy and messy and kind of convoluted and confusing. And so all of that stuff where Ramona kind of goes into the mirror world and the shadow realm or, whatever you want to call it, it all just felt like it was in there just like it didn't really serve a larger purpose. It was just kind of there to just try to be weird and kind of mess with your mind, so to speak. And then you get to the last handful of minutes in the movie, and you've got the woman in the yard who is now kind of with Ramona, and she asks her, what have you been praying about? Like, she's like, I'm, because she said earlier in the movie, I'm here, I'm an answer to your prayer, you called me, sort of thing. And then Ramona's like, I've been praying for the strength to get through. And then she's like, no, you haven't been. She kind of calls her out and she's like, no, I've been basically praying for the strength to end it all so that I can finally just be done and just end my life, sort of thing. And then she tells her kids, hey, go to the neighbor's house, get help, it's fine. And then she goes into the barn and we see, the woman in the yard kind of surround her and put the gun up underneath her chin. Now, we never specifically hear a gunshot, but after this, we see Ramona running out of the barn and calling her kids back, and they come back. And then things kind of get sort of unexpectedly happy and positive. And we see that the barn has now a name on it. I think it's Iris Haven because of the flowers, and the dog comes back and the lights magically turn on and the family goes back into the house. And then the camera pushes in on the portrait of her, and then it, drops down and we see the signature of Ramona in the bottom corner, only it's all reversed. It's backwards. And because of the thing that we learned back in when they were in the attic, when she enters the mirror world, it's kind of this, fantasy, whatever you want to call it. And like, I know at the end of the day, this is just a movie, but the way they handle the ending, and it feels actually quite irresponsible. And I don't know that I've ever really said that about a movie before. Nothing else immediately springs to mind. But this really feels like that. And now, obviously, you're dealing with a very sensitive and very serious issue, and it's very clear that Ramona is depressed, and not only depressed, but to the point to where she's legitimately considering ending her life. But then we get this moment where she is, getting ready to pull the trigger, and the woman in the yard shines the little light on all the pictures of her kids. And it's like she's kind of showing her into the future of her kids grown up, and it looks like they're happy and all that stuff. And just the way that this whole thing is presented, and I can't imagine, I'm sure that this is not the filmmaker's intent, But man, the way that they present this almost feels like an endorsement for this behavior, for what she is about to do. Like, oh, it's okay. You'll be fine. Your kids are going to be all right. Look at how happy they are. They're going to grow up and be successful and have happy lives, and you'll finally be at peace and you won't have to put up with this anymore. And I understand that that is, to a degree, people who actually suffer and go through this thing, that, you know, it's that idea that people will be better off without them. But then again, the way that it's all portrayed makes it seem like what she is about to do is this good, positive thing, which I just can't, obviously, I can't get on board with. It's just insane. And so to me, too, as a parent, I kind of lost all sympathy and respect for her at this point, because to me, it's like you're quitting on your kids. And so it's like, at this point, like, I've just checked out. You know, I was like, screw this woman. I have no respect. I have no sympathy. You know, this is awful, sort of thing. And so, yeah, just a really weird choice. And again, like I said, I can't imagine that that was the intent of the filmmakers, to actually sort of paint this thing in like this good, positive light. But man, that's how it seemed to be conveyed and communicated to me. And then too, the whole sort of final sequence, again, kind of adds to that, because it's like they sort of tacked on this like happy, dreamlike fantasy sequence, like all ends well. And it's like, I don't know what that's supposed to be, because again, if she really did, you know, pull the trigger and end it all, whose sort of fantasy is this? Like, is this her dying wish before she pulled the trigger? Is this like, I don't know what the context of this is. Like, what is this last few minutes supposed to be, where, you know, they enter into the house and everything seems all happy and joyful once again, only to find out that this is just some sort of fantasy sort of thing, which again seems to add to this thing that like what she did ultimately had this positive, good outcome. And it's like, that is such a crazy message to send to people, I feel like. And so, again, I can't imagine that that's what Blumhouse and the writers and the directors actually intended for, because if it was, that's just obviously terrible. But if it isn't, then they kind of just look ignorant, because it's like they don't actually understand the message that their movie is communicating, which again seems to paint this sort of depression and just ending it all in this positive, good light, that this woman who ultimately suffers from a horrible mental illness and then decides to end it all and essentially quit and give up on her kids somehow did this good thing. It's a wild thing, man. And so, yeah, I could see this legitimately like upsetting people. And again, I know it's just a movie, but like it just really feels irresponsible. And it's like, it's such a crazy thing and it sort of message, I feel like, that the movie kind of went for. But anyways, I know, obviously, I mean, this is obviously just my opinion and kind of how I interpreted it and what I thought the movie was trying to do. But, you know, people are going to obviously feel differently and, you know, interpret it in different ways. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. I did not expect that. And so, yeah, I didn't like it, to say the least. Yeah, I kind of was just completely emotionally and mentally checked out by the end. I was kind of just like, screw this. This is ridiculous. Like, are you kidding me? You know, you never, ever quit on your kids as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. And again, it's not so much like what happens, it's sort of the intent in how that sort of behavior is portrayed. It's one thing to portray that sort of behavior as a horrible thing, but in another way, it's still portrayed as something dark, but it still sort of has this sort of happy ending tacked onto it that I'm just like, dude, I can't get behind this at all. This is crazy. So, yeah. Anyways, that was just kind of a long ramble. I kind of just had some thoughts in my mind that I just wanted to kind of throw out there and, you know, see. So anyways, yeah, those are my thoughts on this one. Hit me up down below. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Would be very curious to hear from you guys. How did you see the ending? Did you interpret it differently than I did? Do you think that, did it seem to you like they were kind of painting this in a sort of positive light, and did it come across as irresponsible? I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts, so let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, that's all I got for you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor, and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.